If you just gave me the next 18 minutes, I'll show you exactly how I was able to lose over 40 pounds without having to sacrifice my social life and still eating foods that I enjoy. Because let's be real, most people that try to lose weight, they end up failing because they cut too hard, they stick to too harsh of a diet that they don't even like. And I feel like to actually make a weight loss transformation sustainable, you need a structure in a way that you can actually stay consistent with, and to the point where this dieting phase doesn't even feel like a diet. So that's exactly what I'll be breaking down in this video. And if you manage to stick it through, I'm sure you'll find a lot of value. All right, so in this video, I'll be going over exactly how the end of a 2.5 year relationship was the best thing that happened to my physique. And it really was the reason for how I was able to go from being over 180 pounds to losing over 40 pounds to now 19 weeks out from my first natural bodybuilding competition. And in this video, I'll be going exactly over how I was able to make that transformation happen, as well as a little bit about my backstory, so you kind of have an understanding of where I was able to develop the system, because I truly believe that you should be able to lose weight while still going out with friends, right? Enjoying a social life. Obviously, I'm on prep right now, so things are a bit different, a bit more strict. But if I were to go on a cut and try to lose weight, had it not been for a bodybuilding prep, this is exactly how I would do it. But with that being said, I want to dive a little bit deeper into my background first so that you actually have some context on where this developed. So first things first, where did I begin? So I started going to the gym in 2022 when I first started dating this girl. And I was skinny fat at the time, so I didn't really have much confidence in my physique. And quite frankly, I was lifting for external validation, and I wasn't really training for myself. And as a result, I already bulked, I didn't really have a plan, I didn't track anything, and there just really wasn't much direction for my fitness. And so as a result, I gained over like 60 pounds because I just didn't have direction. And it sounds so crazy just saying that number out loud. And this cycle of continuously bulking continued until my first day of university. And obviously throughout that time, I tried to go on a cut, but I couldn't commit to it. So I protected my ego by saying, hey, I need to put on more muscle. Guess what? It was just an excuse because I couldn't commit to a cut and I didn't want to feel like a bitch. So I bulked all the way up until first year of university, gained way too much weight. And on a February night, we broke up. And yeah, it sucked. I was like quite at the bottom. Like, I don't even know how to put it. It just wasn't good. I was overweight, right? My girl left me, and I woke up the next day and I realized that this is kind of just my fault, right? My inputs for what I've been doing throughout fitness is quite literally why I'm overweight. And, I wanted to use this breakup as a reason to better myself. So what did I actually do? I actually committed this time by subscribing to MyFitnessPal. I paid for it. It was like 120 for a year. It was the best investment of my life, one of the best investments. And I was just so desperate in that moment because I remember like when my girlfriend and I broke up, I was just like at a point of desperation. Like, if I don't, make a physical change to my body, I'm never going to build that confidence again to, just be myself. And that's essentially like quite literally what I did. Like, as you can see, my transformation right here, this was back in February, and then this was after my cut. So I was able to drop some significant weight. And yeah, this cut lasted around 3 months. Obviously, throughout the 3 months, I actually had structure to my meals this time. I had structure to my workouts. I had structure to my nutrition. Everything was dialed in. And that's exactly why I was able to commit to a cut this time compared to the times prior, because I had a structure to stick to, which is exactly what I'll be going over later. But so yeah, I was able to lose over 40 pounds despite having a busy school schedule, going to one of the toughest universities out here in Canada. And that really builds character, right? Knowing that you're able to balance something rigorous and still like prioritizing your health. And, obviously continuing this cut through summer, like this honestly changed me mentally because it just proved to me that I can actually achieve the goals that I set for myself. And so this kind of leads me to where I am today and my beliefs surrounding fitness, right? Because throughout that time, I was still going out with my friends. I was still eating out with them. I was still hanging out with them, right? Going out for drinks. And it's like you don't need to give up all that to have a successful fat loss transformation because fitness should not be your entire life, right? It's something that should be used to better your life. Like at the end of the day, your physique is it's not really about the physique, it's the byproduct that comes with getting a better physique, right? Such as being more confident, being more disciplined, right? Just having better mental clarity. That's the true reason for why you would even want to have a better physique. It's not because having a six pack is cool. Like, yeah, it's cool, but like it's the byproduct that comes with it. The way that I like to go about fat loss is finding your maintenance calories and then subtracting it by 3 to 500 max because anything larger than that, it's just way too aggressive. There's no reason to be doing an aggressive cut. Matter of fact, the way that I like to approach a cut is keeping your deficit relatively small, but having a larger increase in energy expenditure. So we'll get into that later. But yeah, essentially finding your maintenance calories and then subtracting 3 to 500 by that. And then from there, you want to find foods that you like and that you can actually stay consistent with while ensuring that these are meals that you can stay consistent with over time and that are easily repeatable, right? Like you see a lot of these recipes on TikTok, like, oh, low calorie pizza, low calorie burger, low calorie ice cream. They're great. Don't get me wrong. But the issue is they're not very repeatable. So as a result, you create them once and it's like you can't really create them the next day, 2 days after, 3 days after. So your mind starts to become fatigued from making all these decisions. And then you go back to like just getting some bullshit like McDonald's, right? So it's really important to have a plan, having something simple to stick to. So obviously having your 3 meals and then having a pre-workout, that's something that I would strongly recommend, right? Like for me, well, I'm on prep right now. Breakfast, I'm doing like oats, eggs, and then lunch, I'm doing potatoes, chicken, vegetables, and then dinner, I'm doing ground beef, rice or potatoes and vegetables, pre-workout, rice cakes, honey, all the good stuff, right? And the way to actually structure your exact macronutrients, the way that I would go about it is you do zero point 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. I would strongly recommend just doing 1 gram per pound of body weight, not only for like satiety reasons, but also for the thermic effect of food. Basically meaning that your body takes more energy to actually break down calories. So your body is burning more when you eat more protein is essentially the point of that. And obviously 0.3 to 0.5 grams of fats per pound of body weight. You don't want to cut out fats. You need that for your hormonal health. I remember when I tried an aggressive cut, my fat levels were really low and my hormones were all over the place. Had no sex drive. It was just dog shit. And lastly, you want to reallocate the rest of your calories to carbohydrates. People say carbs make you fat. That's completely false. You need carbs to actually fuel your workouts, right? And if you cut out carbs, how are you supposed to fuel your workouts? If you don't fuel your workouts and don't have a great workout, you're going to lose muscle over time. And that is not what we want because you're just gonna end up skinny fat, right? The whole point of losing fat is to, obviously get shredded, but you want to keep your body composition or matter of fact, even build some muscle, right? So that's why we need our carbohydrates. So that's essentially how I would go about eating sustainably and finding like a diet that works for you, right? There's only so many foods out there that you can choose from that are actually decent for you in terms of like protein, carbs, and fats, right? Like protein, you'll go for things like egg whites, chicken breast, ground beef, ground turkey, ground chicken, things like that. Maybe some shrimp in there as well, right? Carbs, you do your simple things like rice, potatoes, sweet potatoes, yellow potatoes, frozen berries, your rice cakes, your honey, your banana for fast digesting carbs, right? And then oats as well for something slower digesting, higher in fiber. And the fats, you could simply just stick with like peanut butter. You already have fats from the ground beef as well. Salmon occasionally here is also amazing, right? And then obviously using oil spray instead of like the bottled oil, because that is very caloric dense and it adds up over time. And then obviously with things like sauces, right? Sugar-free barbecue sauce, hot sauce, amazing 0-calorie option so that you don't get bored of your food. But enough of the diet. Let's actually get into the routines. So the way that I like to structure routines is you would do 2 sets per exercise. If you can take 2 sets per exercise to failure, like that's all you need to build muscle, right? Just 2 quality sets to failure. There's no reason to be doing 4 sets, right? Like that's just too much volume at the end of the day. And ideally you want to train each muscle group at least twice a week, but it depends on the person as well. So what do I mean by that, right? If you're someone who is really busy, right, you got work commitments, you got school commitments, and you can only go 3 times a week, then that's fine. I would rather have you go consistently 3 times a week than go 6 times a week and have that be like a once a month kind of thing, right? Consistency is all you need when it comes to succeeding with fitness. So going back to training your muscle group 2 times a week, right? If that's something we were to structure out, it will look something like push, pull, legs, rest on Thursdays, and then you would do upper, lower Friday, Saturday, and then rest Sunday. Or you could do upper, lower, rest. Something like that to train your muscle groups, each muscle group twice a week. And then in terms of cardio, when it comes to fat loss, right, you want to do something that's relatively low intensity so that, you know, when you're on like a caloric deficit, it's not too taxing on your body, right? Most people think they need to be running, they need to be doing some, you know, crazy cardio, like 3 hours of swimming. You don't need to do that for fat loss. Literally, if you can get an 8 to 10K steps per day, right? 25 to 30 minutes of zone 2 cardio, that is perfect. It literally doesn't even feel like anything physically taxing on you because it's so low intensity. It's called low intensity steady state cardio. But nonetheless, that's exactly how I would structure out a potential routine. And with that being said, right, you also obviously want to take every exercise to failure because you want to give your muscles a reason to stay. So enough of the routine. Let's dive into the actual mental side of things that, you know, no one really talks about because yeah, diet's important, nutrition is important, workout's important, but it's really the byproduct of building a physique that people don't talk about. And, you know, it's what really just changes you as a person, right? You have to understand that the whole reason for where you are today and even want to lose fat is because you've been doing the incorrect inputs. I'll just be real with you. You're probably looking to lose fat right now. And that's because over the past couple of years, past couple of months, you've been eating like shit. You've been neglecting your body. That's fine. It happens. I was there too. Okay. And so to actually change that, obviously you're going to need a different set of actions because how are you supposed to achieve a different result with the same set of actions that got to where you are today? Doesn't really make any sense, right? So you have to understand that making a transformation is uncomfortable. Because I'll be honest with you, when I started weighing out my food in front of my family, they clowned on me for it. But you have to understand that doing that is exactly what is going to grow you as a person. Because you and I both know growth doesn't come from comfort. It comes from discomfort. Had I not started weighing out my food a year ago today, I'd still be guessing my calories. I'd still be fat, right? So you have to understand that, you know, some of these inputs are going to be uncomfortable. And until you can embrace that uncomfortability, you're probably not going to be able to make it that transformation that you want, if I'm being honest with you. But not only that, right? How do you actually stick to the goals that you set for yourself? Because I'll be honest with you, motivation comes and goes. Like on some days, you really just have to be disciplined, right? I can give you all the motivation you want, but at the end of the day, the way that you actually stay disciplined to your goals is understanding what it is exactly and why you want to get there. So for my case, right, I knew that I wanted to lose weight. I knew that I wanted, for example, my arms to look cleaner, a flatter stomach. And it's like the way that I was able to envision it, like that just kept me going day by day, right? Waking up and looking at myself in the mirror and thinking like, oh, if I just kept going, like one day my body will look better. and really understanding why you even want to do this in the first place. Why is this important to you right now? Why is it not something you do 6 months down the road, a year down the road, right? Like for me, obviously, I knew that my confidence was at an all-time low after that breakup. And so to actually gain my confidence back, I needed to lose that weight right now. I could not afford to wait another 6 months, another year, right? And so once you actually understand what your goals are, then you reverse engineer and figure out the inputs to actually get there. So obviously to lose fat, you re-engineer the inputs to get there to like doing a caloric deficit, doing a cardio, things of that nature. And at the end of the day, consistency is what matters, right? If you can show up every day and repeat these actions, this is what truly builds discipline. Because now it's like, okay, you set yourself a goal and you showed up every single day to commit to that. Like you don't understand how much trust you build within yourself once you actually show up every day for yourself, because you only have one body. God only gave you one body to work with. And it's like, if you can really just dial in on your own body for the next couple of months and make that meaningful transformation for yourself, it's like, dude, you really just feel like that guy. So that's more on the identity side of things, right? Because there is that 2.0 version of you who already has a better physique. And in order to actually achieve that, you have to start acting in alignment with that person, right? Right now, I'm prepping for bodybuilding. And I know that the version of myself who is shredded, who's diced, he's getting up every single day to do cardio. And as of right now, on some days, I don't want to do it, but it's like, I have to, because I know that to get to that shredded, stage lean, ready look, I need to show up and act in alignment with that version of myself. Otherwise, I'm not going to get there. And it's you get to a point where you truly embrace the identity. Like right now, if I were to skip cardio, I would feel very upset about myself. I would feel like shit. I would feel guilty because internally, I almost feel like I'm sabotaging myself. And that's the kind of mentality you need, right? The mentality of, oh, if I don't do these inputs, I almost feel guilty because that means that I'm telling myself I'm not worthy of becoming that version of myself that I want to become. So now that you have the exact plan on how to transform your physique, right? And you're someone who, has their career figured out, but you're struggling to lose fat and, you struggle with consistency and you need help finding that balance because, right, you still want to go with your friends, you still want to socialize, and, you want to build that confidence, you want to commit to this process, then I want you to book a call with me in the link below, or you can message me on Instagram. And then from there, we can talk, right? Understand your goals better, understand where you want to get to, and really dive deep into, why you even want to get there. And then from there, seeing how I can help. But nonetheless, I hope you found a lot of value in this video, and I'll see you in the next one very soon.